Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of HR Famous. Before we get started, we're pretty excited to announce our first real sponsor. Now, if you've been a listener, I would say we had real sponsorship because we had the great people at Kinetics and also HRU Tech. But those are our companies, so we just kind of like threw some love and that way. But we actually had a vendor step up and want to be a long-term sponsor and give us money and do all those great things for us to come out and talk about their product. And that product is HireTool. And so you're going to ask, what is HireTool? And basically they are an AI-powered candidate search and data hub. So what is that? Well, HireTool is a candidate search and data engine for all those sourcing and recruiting efforts that you have. It integrates your tech stack, your ATS to complete, kind of all the top of funnel solutions. And it sources across 750 million profiles, not 750 profiles, 750 million profiles. And it engages and sends out personalized campaigns and rediscovers lost profiles within your ATS, which I think is one of the largest ROIs in the market right now for any kind of recruiting technology. JLee, my team actually went through and used HireTool for a bit, and it's pretty damn impressive for what you get and for the things that you have to go out and try to do. And so we're excited to have HireTool with us, and we'll continue to talk more about them as we go. Now, on to the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris Dunn, HR Famous, back in the saddle again with the one, the only Jessica Lee, and also the one and the only Tim Sackett. JLee, how are you doing? I'm like breaking news. I'm breaking news here on the HR Famous podcast. You are in the middle of a vegan run. How are you doing with the vegan run? How are you coping? Tell us more.
I'm so hungry. That's how I'm doing. I'm hungry all the time. I really want to eat some fried chicken. I'd like to get back in on that chicken sandwich war.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get ready for the summer.
Okay. Isn't the summer already here?
Not technically. I'm also, you know what? So like my kids are at the age where it's hard to explain to them, why am I eating this bloody thing? Like, it's just weird. They're like, you're eating a cow? And so we're at that place. It's awkward.
But they don't like chicken and cows and all that?
No, they like carbs. That's all.
They like chicken nuggets though.
Barely.
Really?
Yeah.
They barely
they like rice.
Nuggets.
They like pasta. They like bread.
So JLee,
full on carb.
Angela Dunn has like a very specific diet going on right now. I don't know all the details, but it's specific and it's different from what Brady Dunn and I eat. So does that cause disruption like in mealtime? Are you off in the proverbial corner of the table while the rest of the group eats not real food? I don't want to say that because that sounds like I'm hedging different food. How does that work?
Well, so as a matter of fact, Bobby J, my husband, is like, finally, you're going to like lay off the meat and we can try to eat more healthy. He thought the day was never going to come.
Okay. So it used to be different. Now it's the same, maybe.
Well, so he likes to still have eggs here and there and he wants to partake in seafood occasionally, but he's all about like legumes and us exploring the world of legumes. It's really interesting. He's like, okay, we're going to get healthy.
Didn't I see a big shroom run on your Instagram?
Yes. Yesterday I had like 7 varieties of mushrooms that I was cooking up. This is my life now.
Were they good?
They were delicious. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sounds like a script from the Big Lebowski to me.
You know what though? But you know what I bought recently, and it's no substitute, but because I do like beef jerky, and thank you again, Sackett, for sending me some. I bought some vegan beef jerky, which is made of mushrooms, and it has kind of like a consistency that was beef-like, but not quite. But it's interesting, all these things that are out there, meat.
So have you tried the Beyond stuff, like Beyond Meats?
Yeah, but it's not that healthy. It's like there's a lot of sodium. It's actually not good for you. It's like if you feel like you need something that feels like meat, that's when you do that.
Tim Sackett, you've been outside, so you're glowing, but I also know there's some diet things at play with you as well. Tell us more about the farm to table. Let me finish the farm to table strategy at the Sackett household.
Well, Katie, first, let me say thank you for noticing, right? That I'm glowing. No, so yeah, like we're planning a trip to Hawaii with a family. It was a promise I made to my wife, and finally getting that promise after I'm like 3 years late. And we're going to go for Thanksgiving. And I'm like, I'm not going to show up and be this giant fat whale on the beach. And so I golf with a guy who just lost 30 pounds. And I'm like, what did you do? And he's like, oh, I got this coach and we do carb cycling. And I'm like, what is that? So anyways, I started carb cycling, which is basically kind of a bodybuilding technique where you eat like small amounts of like high protein diet, like 5-6 times a day, like every 2 hours. And then what happens? So it kind of sounds like Atkins, right? Like a high protein diet. But what happens is your body adjusts to Atkins and it starts to slow down your metabolism. Your body starts to hang on to all that. The carb cycling then is certain days you actually go high carb, and it's not really high carb. It's kind of like, not for me, it's not high carb, it's like mid carb. But like then you increase your carbs and then it tricks your body into believing it still needs to burn your fat for carbs, right? And so I literally have already lost 6 pounds this week. So it's kind of weird. Like I'm not hungry at all. Like JLee says, like I'm hungry. I'm like, I'm not hungry. I feel like I'm eating constantly and it's hard because I'm not a person. Like I would go all day and not eat and then just consume like
a camel.
Yeah. And then like consume 10,000 calories when I got home, like a freaking ravenous person because I was starving to death. So we'll see. We can keep updating each other. My diet sounds easier than JLee's, but like JLee, my like wife and kids are like, you're insane. We're not doing that. We were at dinner last night. They all had these like big pizzas and fried chicken sandwiches. And I had a piece of grilled fish and asparagus.
But so Chris, I know you're making fun of us. We're not as naturally as like lithe and like, lean as you. We don't have your DNA.
Tall and lean.
We don't have your DNA. But I will say this is like, there are a lot of people that are getting ready to come out of the pandemic in their homes. I know so many people that everyone's trying to get themselves ready because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be seen out in the wild again. And so people are getting ready.
Because you don't want to show up at a conference and someone goes, woo, Tim put on some weight. Look at that fatty.
Hey, JLee, I might add that you're glowing as well, but you're always glowing. So after Sax gets out in the sun a little bit and like does his diet, I got to like throw him a bone just so like he feels great. So I have not been on a diet. Mrs. Dunn, as I mentioned, has. But I did do something different in the last week. You want to hear what it was?
Yeah.
So I was watching a video podcast, and I'm going to mess up the name, but the guy who is married to the Spanx owner.
Oh.
Is that Sarah Blakeney?
I think so. Yeah.
His name's Jesse. I'm sorry, Jesse. It's either Itzler or Eitzler. And he used to be a small minority owner in the Atlanta Hawks. He sold like a jet company. Anyway, he was.
So he's a short black guy, a small minority owner.
Could be a short.
He had a smaller amount ownership of the team, is what you're saying.
He had like 1%, or something like that. So I was watching this podcast, and he talked about he actually brought David Goggins into his house, his former SEAL. JLee, if you're not familiar with David Goggins, he is right now, he's kind of what's the right way to say this? He's the Gary V of fitness and and life hacks. So anyway, this guy on the podcast brings him into his house for a month. Okay. And tells like the owner of Spanx that he's coming into the house, like after he already invites him. It's a great clip. So he's talking to the host of the podcast, which was Joe Rogan, by the way. Mm-hmm. And I consume Joe Rogan. There's clips, like 10-minute clips. That's how I consume it. I figure out something I want to watch and I go in there. And he's talking to Joe Rogan. And he says the first thing that Goggins did was he put him like on a chin-up bar. And he said, jump on the chin-up bar. Show me how many you can do. So Jesse gets on the chin-up bar. He's like talking about it. He says, I did like 4. And Goggins, this is day one. Goggins says, okay, we're staying here until you do 100.
Oh my goodness.
So I give you that story. So I've done 2 different things this week. No diet, but last Sunday, I actually went to the chin-up bar, and I didn't stay there till I had 100. But in the course of like an hour and a half, I did 100, and it ravaged my body. Like it took me from shoulders to waist and just wasted me. So as we record this, I think I'm going to do it tomorrow again and see what happens, because I'm a maintenance lifter, right?
It took 5 days for your body to recover.
It did.
Ooh.
And
so maybe start with 25 or 50.
And most of it in the core. And it didn't come till like day 2. Like day 1, I was like kind of disappointed in the results. And then day 2 was like a locomotive like coming through my body. So I've done that. I also, and I'll give you this and we'll get on to like actual HR topics, but this is really
more interesting.
This is really a self-help like podcast. The other thing I did, JLee, I know you like to run a little bit. So I'm a big like 30-minute runner. Like I get out like, generally like 3.5 miles, like in 30 minutes. Maintenance is good for me. Mental health really helps me that way for real. And so I upped that. So I did one in the last week at an hour, and I did another one an hour and 20 minutes. Ugh. Just going. And it kind of like broke the pattern like for me. And I'm kind of like, okay, like, are we going to do this? Like, are we going to, yeah.
I'm a 30-minute runner as well. 30-minute mile. As many 30-minute miles as Katie wants to do, I'm in with him. I'm right beside him. We're checking out Zillow. We're looking at houses.
So, but the recommendation for you guys, what's cementing this vegan plant-based thing is the movie Game Changers. You guys have to watch it. I mean, it's about this UFC fighter who goes vegan and like life-changing results. The strongest man in the world, also vegan. Like if that doesn't convince you, you're going to be able to do
what's it on?
100, was it chin-ups, pull-ups? I don't even know what they're called.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to do them like.
Jay, what site is that on? What's Game Changers on?
Netflix. The Game Changers. You're going to be all about the beans, the tubers. You're going to be all in.
Or I'll just do 100 pull-ups like twice a week.
Katie, have you been like when you first time you do like squats when you haven't done them for like years, and then like it's the same thing? It has that 2-day delay where the first day you're like, all right, I'm going out. By day 2, you can't sit down to go to the bathroom. Like your legs and butt hurt so bad.
So this is great. Christian Dunn, life coach, just getting all the advice from the panel here at HR Famous. Let's move on to an HR topic. Hey, by the time this airs, this is going to be a few weeks old, but we wanted to talk about return to work like broadly. We'll use what's going on at Apple as kind of an example of this. So Apple employees are pushing back or have pushed back. How many of them have actually pushed back is up for debate, but some of them are pushing back against a new policy that's going to require Apple employees to return to the office 3 days a week starting in early September. So the move comes, I think it came a couple days after Tim Cook sent, by the way, Tim Cook, Auburn grad, shout out, War Eagle. Anyway, Tim Cook sent out a note to Apple employees saying they would need to return to the office. This is interesting, JLee. On Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, starting in the fall, most employees can work remotely twice a week. They can also be remote for up to 2 weeks a year, pending manager approval. JLee, I'll let you react to that. And then I'm sure Tim's going to come in hot, as I expect him to, with like what Business Insider had. I think it was like 80 out of 36,000 employees. Maybe signed another petition online. Tim will fill us in on the details. But JLee, back to you. They got to go back Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays to stay remote twice a week. Thoughts, reactions? Is that fair? Like, where are we going with all this return to work stuff?
So I think return to work is complicated. And I think that what Tim Cook and Apple are doing, what I like is like there's balance. We're not saying come back full time.
Hybrid.
We're saying that there's a part-time. But I think what's weird is to be so prescriptive about the specific days. Like if you need to come back 50 to 60% of the time, great. But like people are all going to have different needs, different schedules. And like, why is it Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday you need to be in the office? Some might argue that having consistency, you know when you're going to see people, all of that is like a good thing. But it kind of just flies in the face of like the idea of like giving people flexibility. Like, what if Wednesdays and Fridays aren't the day that I want to be remote or need to be remote? It's just I don't know. I'm not sure about it.
It feels, JLee, like Tim Cook doesn't think the world works, or he doesn't think innovation works on somebody's 3 or 4 day weekend. Tim Sackett, go.
I gotta tell you, man, like I understand there's editors involved with this crap and like they make titles that the author didn't put in. But like even the content of some of these Business Insider articles have gotten so ridiculous, I want to throw up. And it forces me to actually have to dig in and read. So here's the thing. I'm on a meeting with the Josh Bersin Academy senior faculty, right? So there's like 30 of us, and we're talking about different like studies and research reports and stuff we're doing. And someone brings up return to work, and one of the faculty members comes and starts talking about like how bad this is and how Apple is coming unglued. And I'm like, wait a minute, I got to stop everybody. I'm like, did you read the article on the Apple thing? It's 80 effing people out of 38,000 employees who signed this letter that says, hey, we don't agree with this.
The pace of change in the world of business is fast, and that drives incredible complexity for the world of human resources.
Welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast, a series of conversations with experts inside and outside the world of HR on how to innovate, measure, and evolve our practices.
Our goal is to help provide you with practical examples of how HR has to change to meet the complexity of the business environment.
Every week, we'll talk to new and different voices on all aspects of HR.
And at times, we'll get irreverent.
Silly even.
And sometimes geek out on the data and technology that underlie the processes that drive the world of HR.
But the conversations are always insightful and fun. So please, enjoy the HR Data Labs podcast.
I mean, Katie, what's that, like 0.001%? I mean, and this becomes headlines. And that's the problem with the headline, is because people don't read and they don't interpret the data and they just go, oh my gosh, Apple's coming unglued. And you're like, no, they're fine. They're not coming unglued. You know,
JLee, I love it when Tim Sackett becomes the human calculator and he just like whips out like a decimal point. And it goes hot like that. I mean, this is all like the reaction of the 80 employees, like harvesting that in whatever way they harvested it. I guess they all signed a letter. Like I think I don't know, but this is all like, I mean, the percentage, and you put that up without context. It's clickbait, right? It's clickbait to say, look at this, to Tim's point, Apple is burning, and there's really like nothing burning. I mean, JLee, they have an actual spaceship that you go to work in.
A giant spaceship over with like a 2-mile campus in the middle of it. I mean,
I would like to go to that spaceship.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be cool. That'd be dope.
Dope is a good word for it. But here's the thing. So separate from Business Insider, and we actually, I do like Business Insider, by the way. But like, this is opportunity for companies, right? Like some companies are gonna come out with a stance and say, this is our return to work policy. This is our stance for how much we want you to be in the office. And then there are going to be 80 people who don't like it. And that's okay. Like, this is opportunity for other companies to say, guess what? We're going to stay fully remote. You don't like Apple's policy? Come work with us. And there's just going to be like this pendulum that I think is going to shift, like swing back and forth between different stances companies have. And I think talent's going to move, and just part of like a leveling out process that inevitably is going to happen.
By the way, like breaking news, if we had that sound to like pipe into this, I think Facebook came out like roughly in the same time and reiterated their stance that they're going to remain fully virtual.
So those 80 folks,
did they say forever?
Well, I mean, for the foreseeable future, I think that's kind of their stance, is they're like fully bought into the remote. So to JLee's point, talent moves based on like what's going on. And those are, and I can't really illustrate it for everybody here, but those are dramatically different cultures where like the top talent will have to figure out where they want to work and what's important to them. But I think the Apple culture is probably dramatically different in some ways than Facebook, right? You've got to figure out like where you want to work and what's important to you. I do, JLee, back to your point, then we're going to change topics because I want to get to offshoring in the United States. I'm going to bring in beat reporter Tim Sackett on this. But JLee, to your point, to finish up on the whole work from home thing, it's a measured approach that Apple's doing. It's hybrid. To your point, you don't like the prescription of days. They're getting, by the way, at least one Monday or Friday away from people. So people can't like do their own thing and be at Lake Tahoe on both a Friday and a Monday. They want them back, and they want their full attention for at least one of those weekend wrap days.
You're right.
I do agree with JLee, though. It takes away from the flexibility nature of what people I think really want. They don't necessarily want hybrid work. They just want more flexibility, right? They want to say, hey, it's a Monday. My kid has this thing at school. I have to drive 2 hours there and back to work. How about I just work from home and do this thing? It makes it, like, oh, nope, you got to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. You got to go in. You're like, well, but that doesn't work for me, right?
I think this is like episode 66 or 67. Let's bookmark this and revisit it in 5 years, maybe a decade. I'm sure we'll be doing this by then. And one of these companies will be bringing, like Facebook will be bringing everybody back. They'll code it #innovation matters, but really what they'll be doing is trying to cast out a bunch of old people from their company who have since moved to Lake Tahoe and Des Moines. All right, so that's that for that topic. Tim Sackett, I'm going to bring you in. So the topic is you've had your ear to the street.
Yeah, we call that anecdotal data, right? Or is that right? Anecdotal?
Yeah, but we had this conversation offline a little bit. I think it's true. So I'm going to bring you in. So what we want to talk about next is what I like to call offshoring in the United States, which means you once had really high-priced talent in one of those, I'm not a comp person, but like Valley. Grade 6, like labor markets, New York, Valley, LA, like probably. And because now we can work everywhere, unless you're at Apple, now we can do this work anywhere. People are starting to move away from high-priced people into B and C markets because they can. And depending on the job and the person, they don't see any drop off in performance. So there's some offshoring going on right now. And there's some people in A markets that want to remain in A markets that are disappointed that companies are moving off them. Correct?
Correct. Damn. I just wrote down, I need to go out and buy this URL called Best Value Talent. Like that seems like a great URL to have right now.
Isn't that a hardware store? That's a hardware store. That's
True Value.
That's True Value. Sorry.
But that's Best Value Talent. True Value Talent could also work really well. Maybe I'll call the True Value people and see if we can work on something. But no, so Katie, you and I both are doing a bunch of recruiting right now. And so when we're talking to people, and I'm talking to executives that are hiring for these positions, they're like, okay, here's our comp range. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Where does the person need to be? And usually they'll go, well, we'd prefer, right, if they're kind of in the area of the headquarters or if they're in the same time zone as the headquarters, but like really they can work remotely for a lot of these roles that we're recruiting. But then comes, well, if I'm recruiting somebody from Silicon Valley or New York City, that $120,000, $150,000 salary, what if I got somebody out of Minneapolis or St. Louis or Nashville or wherever, right? Some other less inexpensive kind of place to live. Does the actual talent I get become really higher valued, right? Versus the New York person. So I'm getting that from the corporate executive side. And then I'm talking to candidates, and I had this candidate that was like, they're in New York City, they're a recruiter. They got laid off during the pandemic because the company they were working for just stopped hiring. This isn't a recruiting manager. This is a recruiter, like 10 years of experience.
Production recruiter doing very well.
What do you need? How much money? What salary do you need?
150 large.
I was making 150 and I really need 150 because I live in Manhattan, right? Like this is where I live. And I'm like, okay, there's 1 million recruiting openings right now. No one wants to pay that dude 150. Why? Because they can go out and hire like $100,000 people that are as good or better than him living in Omaha or wherever, right? Like they don't need that person to be in New York City. So companies are making this decision to say, wait a minute, we don't have to pay for your lifestyle. We're paying for your talent. If you decide to live in New York City or the Valley. But this is a complete reversal from what we saw at the beginning of the pandemic when Silicon Valley was like, oh, hey, you come work for us at Facebook and you can live in Duluth and we'll still pay you $180,000 to be a senior engineer. But then when they started to hire, they were like, wait a minute, we don't actually have to do that. We can pay $100,000, right, to have somebody live in Detroit, or wherever. So we're starting to see this reversal, which I think we all kind of knew, like economics would eventually play out, which comes to question then, what if you don't go back to work, then at a headquarters that's in the Valley or in the city or wherever, like what's your true value? Because you can't continue to think like, oh, well, I was working in the Valley and making $250,000. Now I'm in Omaha. Yeah, you're not going to make $250,000 if you switch jobs. Just understand that's going to be the case, right?
So, JLee, there's a couple of things going on there. There is the person who is locked into an A market and wants to be there and may have a hard time replacing like wages. And then there's the person that moved that gets geographically slotted in a comp plan, maybe with some money taken away. A lot of companies are doing that. Maybe a couple aren't. What I'm fascinated by is kind of this movement that happens behind the scenes. To Tim's point, I call it offshoring in the United States. Any reaction to that, JLee? Do you like that phrase?
I love the phrase. I mean, I think you have to write a part of the book that is for corporations, leaders, and like what's their talent strategy. But you're going to have to write a section of the book that's more talent focused. Like, what does it mean for you as an individual, like that recruiter that Tim's talking about? And like, what are the implications for you as companies think about this? But so like, there's this macro issue that's at play, but I'm actually still stuck on like recruiters, even in like a large market making 150. That's crazy to me. I actually think this person was overcompensated to begin with. Like, this was a corporate recruiter?
Yeah.
I would tell you that sounds like perfect storm to me, JLee. It sounds like the perfect company.
Tech recruiter. High margin company.
Yeah. Go, JLee. Keep reacting.
Well, so maybe perfect storm, but also like that person probably has to recognize that like that's not what the market like generally is demanding for corporate recruiters. And so like they need to have plan B, right? Around like what kind of job are you going to, or what industry are you going to go to that's going to enable you to maintain that lifestyle? Because I think that's like, if you were to look at salary surveys or whatever for recruiters, I just don't think that's the norm.
Yeah. By the way, this isn't a salary cut across the board. I think organizations, what I'm hearing is they're like, hey, we were paying exorbitant salaries because we're forcing people to live in the highest, priced areas in the world. And now we're saying, hey, you can live anywhere. And so they're feeling like they're getting a bargain by going to Minneapolis and hiring a recruiter that probably was making 85 and now they're making 100. So now you have the Minneapolis people making more money, right? And that market is actually rising. So again, what you have is like a lowering of the A markets, but a raising of the B and C markets. So it's all kind of levels itself out. The problem being, if you're in those A markets, you can no longer afford until you have like a real estate crisis, that drops that market down where you go, okay, now I can afford to live here again.
So when I think about this, so I've been recruiting recruiters. So I'm like, Tim, what am I, like 4 weeks ahead of you, like doing your drive to onboard some people. So JLee and Tim, I've onboarded myself, like, and both of you have helped me source, like spread the word. I've hired 9 on my own. By the end of the day, I'll probably be at 12 or 13. So I've been in the market a lot. I think what's interesting is I don't see the tightness that I thought would be there in the recruiting market, but I see a bunch of different like things flying across the screen, right? So the perfect storm, JLee, Tim, like for his model, newer recruiters really wants them like with him. We're hiring just a little bit more experience. We're paying for that, by the way, because that's what the market like bears, but we'll allow them to work anywhere. So it's one of these things where you've got to find the right fit for you. Like, so we're not offshoring out of Atlanta. We're trying to find the best people available, like in a realm that we can pay them well, but we can't pay the New York guy like 150. And we're trying to find like what's important for them. So JLee, here's a couple things we're finding. We're finding people that are trying to be mobile from their current company to a new city. Like in those life circumstances, I've got 1 or 2 out of that 9 already there. And then we do have, to the earlier like segment we did, the Apples of the world that even are trying to bring people back in a hybrid like form. I've got at least 2 out of that 9 that are running from even a hybrid return to work. And they're like, hey, I live the lifestyle. I'm ready to go. Lateral to where I was at sounds fine. So I think, JLee, there's a bunch of different like moving parts to this. And I think like back to the Apple conversation, it's representative of this talent marketplace that's fluid and has like 9 or 10 like components like sliding around. And you have to have a lot of conversations to find the people that fit your mode. Reaction to that?
I was just going to say that, companies are all making these pronouncements right now about return to work and hybrid work and et cetera. And most of them aren't taking effect till probably after Labor Day. I wonder, like retention issues that everyone is going to see, turnover challenges, like how much people are going to start like loosening up and changing their perspective. Because I think exactly as you're saying, like if you're recruiting people right now, like ripe for the picking are these companies that are saying you're coming back or it's hybrid. Like there's a whole swath of people who want to stay remote or have a high level of flexibility. And so it's a good time to be picking those people off the market. And by the way, I thought you were going to say, going back to the earlier part of the conversation, a few of your hires have been vegans, but you didn't say that. I was like, oh wait, no. Not
well, JLee, what I've learned is we can't ask that question because that plays into some gray area, right? Where we just like to stay
out of the lifestyle issues
above the fray, right? We're just concerned about performance.
Pre-interview though, he takes him to a big steakhouse,
right? And I just watch. What are they going to do? Are they going all sides? Like, are they going weird on me? Is it all sides, like with vegetables?
Yeah. Did you go to the tomahawk? Yeah.
WTF? This is not a meat and 3 where you're just getting the 3. This is a steakhouse. Hey, one other thing, just to kind of play this talent market thing. Tim, you can react to this, but I'm actually kind of talking about you. So, Tim, and we would like to get here, JLee, like with like future recruiting classes. Tim is more invested and has more infrastructure to train early career recruiters than we do at Kinetics. Tim, by the way, I want to do a podcast where we just kind of talk about recruiting recruiters sometime soon. But Tim has the ability to do that. And because his offices are in Michigan, he wants to do that there. Tim, one interesting thing is every time I go Gartner did an acquisition of like an analytics play called Talent Neuron that tells you a lot about labor markets. So we've got access to that at Kinetics. And every time I do a search in this Gartner tool with Talent Neuron, not every skill set, but it'll tell you the top 10 markets where you can go, where competition is the least. And almost all the time, Gainesville like just shows up like in the top 10. So I'm going to suggest to you, Tim Sackett, that you should
open a recruiting office in Gainesville.
You should get in the talent offshoring business, and you should find a great market with a lot of supply, and you should do what you do, which is go like train people with some experience or no experience into a great recruiter inside of a year. Gainesville is next for HRU Tech.
But you know what happens in Gainesville, Katie, is they have so many kids coming to Gainesville to go to school from outside of Florida. They get there, they fall in love with Florida, but where they get, they're just going to stay in Gainesville, right? They don't want to go back to like the Michigan to like 20 degrees and snow And so I think that's one of the reasons you have this overabundance of talent sitting in Gainesville. So it's smart, right?
That's why you need to be there. So you need to
Looking at
go.
real estate.
Lots of subleases available, I'm sure, even in Gainesville. Go get there and get your boiler room going. Like, let's ramp up 10 or 15, I won't say kids, because you are open to all talent, Tim Sackett, but let's get in Gainesville and do that. JLee, let's close with this. What's a market you would point us to for like lots of talent? Anything come to mind?
No, I'm stuck on Gainesville. I smell a like reality show in the making where like Tim has like an HRU tech house where like these young recruiters are all living together. A recruiter house. Like the boiler room is where they go during the day. Like I love it.
You know, we are like 2 steps away from bankrolling that whole thing. And and Tim Sackett's the perfect person to lead it. We've talked about it before, JLee. We need to share this with our audience of his pilot for whatever it was. Like, what was the channel?
Office Lockdown.
Office Lockdown on?
Spike.
And I just remember, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. He's like talking to somebody, he smacks the wall or a locker. He's like, pay attention.
Yes.
It would be perfect. It would be just magical. And Kinetics is willing to bankroll half of that reality show as we create the recruiters of the future.
Hire Tool, where are you at? Bankroll the other half. Let's go.
Bam.
So good. And with Airbnbs, it's done.
It sounds so sloppy and so awesome.
And you know me too. Can you imagine all the product spots that would be in there? Like, I'd be just like, you guys need to work harder.
Like a
little Diet Mountain Dew drink.
Hire Tool, like hoodie.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Across the board.
All right. So I'll get you guys out of here on this. JLee, what's for dinner tonight? You guys are in these diets, right? We talked about it. I'm going to go do some pull-ups and eat whatever like I want to eat. What's on the dinner table tonight,
We're
JLee?
having a vegetarian Korean dish is what we're doing.
Sounds magical.
Some
like
tofu.
most people just like, okay, good. Tim Sackett, what do you got while your family eats pizza?
I have a 4-ounce beef burger with a slice of cheddar cheese, a whole grain bun, a cup of green beans, and a protein shake.
One of these meals is not like the other, is what I would say. What flavor's the protein shake, Timmy?
I'll go strawberry.
Okay. There you have it. All right. That's HR Famous for Jessica Lee and Tim Sackett. I'm Chris Dunn. Until next time.